actually going to do a quick little demo on how to use a bandsaw and some safety issues. The studio has 3 bandsaws. 2 of them are actually 14-inch bandsaws, and then we have a 20-inch bandsaw. This one has a 1/4-inch blade in it, and I believe the other bandsaw should have an 1/8-inch blade in it. Okay? Just some really simple things that you want to know before you do anything. You want to make sure that you wear eye protection, right? You might want to consider also wearing earplugs or earmuffs if you want to. And again, some of the other things that you want to do too, you'll notice that I don't wear any jewelry. I don't have long sleeves on. Try not to wear long sleeves. If you have long sleeves, roll them up, because anything that you can do that will, help alleviate a potential of a problem, you're better off. That's the other thing. Necklaces or bracelets, you might want to take your bracelets off too, just because there's a possibility that they might be able to get stuck on something and end up causing a problem. If you have long hair, make sure that it's tied up. And I would just not tie it up, I would actually stick it down the back of my shirt too, because if you tie it up and it's long and it's still hanging over your shoulder, it could still end up being a problem. It can end up getting caught in the blade. The blade on this actually goes down, and if your hair gets caught in there, it's just not going to get cut off. There's a good possibility it could be ripped out of your head. There's a good possibility it could pull you down onto the table or the blade, and that's with any piece of equipment too, so you want to be really careful about that. And of course, no scarves, right? You don't wear your purses in here, no jewelry. It'll make things a lot easier. Try to keep your area really clean, and if you can, avoid distractions at all costs. If someone comes to talk to you, just ignore them, or if you have to, at least turn the saw off before you start talking to them. Don't talk to anyone while you're operating any equipment. And everyone in here should also know that you don't talk to anyone while they're operating equipment too. And so if someone does do that, remind them of just the general safety rules in the studio. Start with the saw off. This is actually a guide and a guard. You'll usually go and take this and position it so it's roughly 1/4 of an inch above your material. And you do that for a couple different reasons. Way up high, you'll notice that there's a lot of blade being exposed and there's more potential of something happening, right? It's much easier for you to cut yourself if there's this much blade being exposed when I'm cutting a 1/4-inch piece of plywood. So one of the things that you always want to make sure that you do is lower the guard. And of course, you're always going to do this while the saw is off. You're never going to do it while it's on. And there's also, so now you'll notice that the guard here is protecting or covering the saw blade here, right? And the amount of the blade that's being exposed here to cut your material is very limited. And there's also some guides in here too that will help keep the blade from bending too much as you push the material through. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a straight piece cut. And again, to do this, really put on your eyeglasses. The start and stop buttons are over here on the left-hand side. Try to just use your left hand to start them. Try not to cross over, because if you cross over, you might actually hit your arm. Then the blade will snap. And again, there's the potential for danger there, so you just want to be as careful as possible. So let's start. Now the cut was pretty straight, but it's really not a straight cut. I mean, it's at an angle I wanted it perfect. So to really get a straight cut, you might want to consider using a miter. Guide, and we'll put this here, and this way you can at least slide the material through and you hold it tight against and down, and you'll be able to push through. Now, as far as cutting curves, I kind of drew a curve here. And one of the things that you're also going to want to do is kind of test your material to make sure that it's going to fit between the blade and the outside of the throat here too. Now this, because of the kind of curve that I want to cut here, it may not, I may actually have some problems. And so what I'm going to do is just draw a couple lines and kind of cut this. So as I'm cutting, once I cut, I'll cut these lines here, and once I cut this, these pieces will fall off, and it might actually make this a little bit easier to cut. If I tried to do this all in one piece, and if I got to here, I would probably, because of the curve and because of this length, I would probably get stuck. And then if I got stuck, I'd have to back it out. And really the only way to back it out then would be to turn the saw off and to back it out with the blade off, right? Try not to do that on because it's just too far and there's too much of a chance of bending the blade and the blade breaking. So here though, with these, I can probably cut these and back them off without too much trouble. Wait until the blade stops and then you'll be able to back it out. So if I cut that and it was kind of curvy and I didn't cut it really straight, that's a safer way of doing it instead of trying to back it out with the blade on it. So. So there's the cut. If you have to, then you can sand it. The only other one I would talk about too is that here, to do a circle, it's really, you'll just take this, follow it through. Now what I would probably do, I would probably take this and cut as much as I can, and then I'm only going to be able to get so far, and I might want to turn the machine off, back it out, and then cut the extra piece off. Or what I could do is I could make a cut like right here, and right there, so when I get to that point, this whole piece of material will fall off. And as you start doing this stuff, you'll start to get a much better feel for it. Turn the ventilation on. Okay. When the ventilation's on, you want to make sure that that's open. Okay. Make sure that the area is clear. Avoid all distractions. No jewelry, eyewear, possible earwear if you think it's necessary. And I think that should pretty much do it. Thanks.